that the spring or summer offensive, Ukrainian offensive, has failed and the world has recognized it?
I am. I mean, it's still ongoing, and you never want to count your chickens before they hatch, or get too far ahead of the game, especially in something like war where the enemy can rise up and punch you in the face. There's still a lot of lethality left in the Ukrainians, but at this juncture, I think it's clear to everybody that the Russian defenses are holding. They're going to continue to hold, and that Ukraine lacks the resources to viably challenge the Russians, and that they're running out of resources, not just for the particular counteroffensive operations in the vicinity of the village of Robotyno, but up and down the line. There's resource exhaustion that could lead to the collapse of the Ukrainian defensive position in the coming weeks and months.
Here's General Milley, who, no surprise, has an entirely different view and argues that there has been, I'll let you define this word if you can after you watch him, partial success.
The Ukrainians have achieved very steady progress, and they've maintained a depth of combat power that is significant. And there's still a reasonable amount of time, probably about 30 to 45 days worth of fighting weather left. So the Ukrainians aren't done, this battle's not done, and they haven't achieved, finished the fighting part of what they're trying to accomplish. So we'll see. It's too early to say how this is going to end. They at least have achieved partial success in what they set out to do. And then we'll get the cold, as you mentioned. It'll start, the rains will come in. It'll become very muddy and it'll be very difficult to maneuver at that point. And then you'll get the deep winter. And then at that point, we'll see where things go. But right now, it is way too early to say that this offensive is failed or not failed. There's still heavy fighting going on. The Ukrainians are still plugging away with steady progress through the various defensive belts that the Russians have put in place.
Political hogwash, or based on hard evidence of which he is aware?
I think it's politically motivated wishful thinking. He's very careful with his words. You can't sit there and point to him and go, liar. Steady, steady progress. If scratching forward and taking 10 meters here, 10 meters there, 100 meters here, at the loss of hundreds, if not thousands, of lives. If the General Milley wants to call that progress, be my guest. He knows what the objectives are. He was part of the planning process. He knows that the Ukrainians should have been in Tokmak, the next major town up, and advancing towards Melitopol at this point, or have already captured Melitopol. So the fact that the Ukrainians are still beating their heads against the first defensive line of the Russians, he knows that this is it's taken far too long, and that the Ukrainians simply lack the resources to finish the job. He knows this, but he's spinning his words very carefully. He's leaving open a window of hope. But there's no serious politician, no serious military professional who believes that the Ukrainians have a chance of succeeding in this counteroffensive. Almost everybody universally recognizes failure when they see it.
He goes into retirement on January 1st. I had misspoken earlier, thinking it was September 30th. Is it likely he already has a job in the defense industry or at a think tank funded by the defense industry? And so he's got to keep articulating the government line, the defense industry line, the DOD line, the get more money and buy more ammunition line.
I tell you what, if he has a job lined up in the defense industry, then he should be arrested and thrown in jail. He is a serving chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. His duty and loyalties and his entire energy should be 100% focused on completing his mission. He should not be engaged in any conversation with defense industry regarding post-retirement employment. The same thing with think tanks. He knows this. He knows what the law is. So I doubt that he's doing that. Now, having said that, we all know how the game's played. We know that there's wink, wink, nod, nod taking place. And we know that on January 2nd, his phone will be ringing off the hook as these board memberships come in as, offers for, fellowships here, positions there come in, but he should not be involved at all. But the revolving door is such that it's just assumed this is going to happen. So there's no reason for him to be involved in direct conversations of that nature.
We're going to take